God damn it! Whoa! Okay, you are now firing a gun at your imaginary friend near 400 gallons of nitroglycerin!
In 1999, David Fincher unleashed a film that tore through Hollywood like a bomb in the night. Fight Club was brutal, stylish, and unapologetically strange. A story about insomnia, violence, and the split identities lurking inside modern men. It tanked at the box office, confused critics, and horrified studios. But over time, it transformed into one of the most iconic cult classics of all time. Yet, behind the soap, the blood, and the whispered rules, the making of Fight Club was even stranger than the film itself. Deleted scenes, dangerous stunts, subliminal images, and real punches all bled into a production that blurred the line between reality and fiction. Here are 30 strange things you never knew about Fight Club, facts that will change the way you see this cult classic forever. Number 1. The studio hated it. When 20th Century Fox executives first watched Fight Club, they panicked. Some declared it unmarketable, while others worried it was a ticking time bomb that would backfire on the studio. Its violence, dark humor, and anarchist message made it impossible to fit into the standard Hollywood marketing playbook. The only true believer was Fox studio head Bill Mechanic. He defended the film, convinced that Fincher's bold vision deserved to be seen, even if it scared people. But the gamble nearly destroyed him. When Fight Club bombed at the box office, Mechanic was fired from his role. The strange irony is that the very movie that ended his career at Fox went on to be hailed as one of the most influential films of its generation, proving Mechanic right all along. Number 2. Brad Pitt and Edward Norton actually hit each other. The fights in Fight Club feel raw because they were. Fincher wanted authenticity, so he encouraged Pitt and Norton to really throw punches. Both men embraced the challenge, blurring the line between acting and survival. One of the most famous moments comes when Norton punches Pitt in the ear during their first fight. Pitt's shocked outburst, "Ow, you hit me in the ear," was completely unscripted. It wasn't acting, it was pain. Fincher loved it so much he left it in, creating one of the film's most unforgettable moments. This strange commitment to realism made the fights terrifying, hilarious, and disturbingly believable all at once.
And she ruined everything.
This is cancer, right?
Number 3. Helena Bonham Carter's strange makeup. Helena Bonham Carter wanted Marla Singer to look nothing like a conventional Hollywood leading lady. Carter worked with her team to create a deliberately smudged, chaotic look, reflecting Marla's apathy and self-destruction. That request gave Marla her signature chaotic appearance: smudged eyeliner, crooked lipstick, and a face that looked lived in and haunted. The messy aesthetic made her feel more authentic and eerily unpredictable, as if she was a woman who had already surrendered to chaos. It was a small detail, but it turned Marla into one of cinema's strangest, most unforgettable anti-heroines. Number 4. Russell Crowe almost played Tyler. Before Brad Pitt was cast, the role of Tyler Durden was offered to Russell Crowe. Fincher, however, rejected the idea. He thought Crowe was too intellectual, too self-serious to embody Tyler's feral, magnetic energy. Instead, Pitt was brought in, and his unhinged, reckless charm defined the character. Looking back, it's strange to imagine anyone else in the role. Pitt's smirk, his swagger, his manic joy and destruction, these became Tyler Durden. Crowe may have been a powerhouse actor, but without Pitt, Fight Club would have been a very different movie. Maybe one that never reached cult legend status. Number 5. Sean Penn and Matt Damon were considered. The narrator role was almost played by very different stars. The studio floated names like Sean Penn and Matt Damon, thinking they would attract bigger box office numbers. Fincher disagreed. He believed Edward Norton was the only one who could capture both the narrator's fragility and his hidden rage. Norton had a quiet nervousness that worked perfectly against Pitt's wild charisma. Casting Norton was a risk, but it paid off. Together, Norton and Pitt created a strange dual performance. Two men who were opposites, yet the same. Number 6. Reese Witherspoon turned down Marla. For Marla Singer, the studio initially wanted Reese Witherspoon. She rejected the role, calling it too dark. Courtney Love and Winona Ryder were also considered, but it was Helena Bonham Carter who ultimately got the part. The choice was perfect. Carter brought a dangerous edge that fit Marla's self-destructive energy. Witherspoon, talented as she is, likely would have softened the character, making her less unhinged. Instead, Marla became one of cinema's strangest love interests, a woman who looks like death and talks like a razor blade. Number 7. Brad Pitt took a pay cut. Brad Pitt was one of the biggest stars in the world, but he slashed his normal $20 million paycheck to $17.5 million to make Fight Club happen. Even stranger, Edward Norton made less than a tenth of that. Despite the imbalance, the two actors had equal weight on screen. Pitt brought star power, but Norton carried the story's psychological heft. The strange reality of Fight Club is that Pitt sacrificed millions, and Norton sacrificed comfort, and together they built a film that would outlast both of their careers in cultural memory. Number 8. Brad Pitt went to a dentist. To make Tyler Durden look scrappy and unpredictable, Pitt went to a dentist and had his front tooth chipped. He then walked around Hollywood with a broken smile for the entire shoot. The detail worked. Tyler's chipped grin became part of his unsettling charisma, proof that he lived recklessly and didn't care how he looked. Pitt only fixed the tooth after filming ended, leaving behind one of the strangest personal sacrifices an A-list actor ever made for a role. Number 9. Edward Norton learned to fight. Sort of. Norton trained in multiple fighting styles, but his intentionally awkward performance made the fights look more believable. The point wasn't to turn him into a pro, it was to make him look like an ordinary man stumbling into violence. That awkward, slightly clumsy style gave the fights a strange believability. Norton wasn't a superhero. He was a tired, fragile man pushed into chaos. Watching him flail, wince, and stumble made the violence feel rawer, stranger, and more real. Number 10. Norton lost real weight. To capture his sleepless, gaunt look, Norton slimmed down noticeably, creating a stark contrast with Pitt's muscular Tyler. He wanted his body to look thin, pale, and frayed, like a man being eaten alive by exhaustion. His gaunt frame worked perfectly against Pitt's muscular, reckless Tyler. Together, their bodies became symbols of their characters, one weak and fading, the other glowing with dangerous vitality. The contrast made their strange relationship even more compelling, a man at war with himself, split between weakness and strength. Number 11. A real chemical burn was filmed. One of the most painful scenes in Fight Club is when Tyler pours lye onto the narrator's hand, creating a chemical burn that eats into his skin. The lye burn scene was done practically with a mix of effects and safe chemicals, but Norton's reaction was so raw that audiences often believed it was real. To simulate the burn, Norton's hand was treated with chemicals that actually caused a searing sensation. His screams were not an actor's choice, they were instinct. Norton later explained that the scene was one of the most difficult to endure. The heat and sting made him lose control, which was exactly what Fincher wanted. In the film, Tyler forces the narrator to confront pain without distraction, without running away. Behind the camera, Fincher forced Norton to experience the same thing. It was an eerie moment where reality and fiction bled together, making the character's pain indistinguishable from the actors. Number 12. The punch to the gut was real. The parking lot fight between Tyler and the narrator looks brutal, and that is because it was. Some moments, like the ear punch, were real, and Fincher sometimes encouraged unpredictable contact to capture authentic reactions. The strangest part is that Pitt encouraged it. He believed audiences would sense if the hit was staged. That willingness to take real punishment blurred the line between actors and characters. On screen, it looks like two men losing themselves in violence. Off-screen, it was two Hollywood stars choosing to bleed a little to tell the truth. Number 13. Pitt's chipped tooth was no accident. One of Tyler Durden's most unsettling features is his jagged grin. Many assumed Brad Pitt damaged his tooth during the film's brutal fight scenes, but the truth is stranger. It was deliberate. Before filming began, Pitt went to his dentist and asked for a chip to be filed into his front tooth. He kept it that way throughout production, refusing to fix it even as he walked around Hollywood with a broken smile. The chipped tooth gave Tyler a dangerous, reckless edge that no prosthetic could match. Pitt finally had it repaired after shooting wrapped, but for the duration of Fight Club, his grin was as battered and unpredictable as the character himself. Number 14. Norton and Pitt learned soap making. To prepare for their character's side hustle, Norton and Pitt actually studied real soap making techniques. They spent time with soap makers, learning how lye interacts with fats to create bars of soap. Of course, no human fat was ever used on set, but the process fascinated both actors. By the time they filmed the soap factory scenes, they could convincingly stir, pour, and shape the mixtures like seasoned experts. What makes it stranger is how much attention was paid to a detail most audiences never noticed. For Fincher, authenticity mattered, even if it meant teaching Hollywood stars the ancient art of boiling fat. Number 15. Marla's cigarettes were herbal. Marla Singer's constant smoking gave her an air of self-destruction, but Helena Bonham Carter was not chain-smoking tobacco. Carter smoked herbal cigarettes on set, giving off a strange smell that added to the atmosphere. The strange side effect was that Marla's scenes became even more suffocating for the other actors. The stench clung to their costumes and hair. In a way, the off-putting smell mirrored Marla's role in the film, an invasive, lingering presence that no one could shake. Number 16. Norton actually bled. In one of the many fights, Norton slammed his hand into a metal prop harder than planned. The fights were carefully choreographed, but Fincher often kept takes where actors looked battered or exhausted to heighten realism. The blood you see on screen is real. Norton's grimace isn't an actor's choice, it's the body reacting to injury. Like many moments in Fight Club, pain became part of the art. The line between stunt and accident dissolved, making the violence feel disturbingly authentic. Number 17. Fincher shot 1,500 reels of film. David Fincher is famous for his obsessive perfectionism. On Fight Club, he shot more than 1,500 reels of film, nearly 4 times what most productions would use. Actors were pushed through dozens of takes of even the smallest scenes. Edward Norton once joked that he would say a line 40 times until he stopped caring about it, and that is when Fincher would actually print the shot. The result was a film that feels natural and unforced, as if the actors have been drained of performance and left only with raw truth. The strange thing is how Fincher weaponized exhaustion, turning repetition into art. Number 18. The narrator's apartment explosion used miniatures. When the narrator's IKEA-filled condo explodes, the sequence looks like cutting-edge CGI, but in reality, it was done with miniature models. The production built an exact replica of the apartment at reduced scale, furnished with tiny IKEA items. When it was blown apart on camera, the result was eerie realism. Audiences assumed it was digital, but it was old-fashioned practical effects. The strange irony is that a film so critical of consumerism went to painstaking lengths to create a perfect miniature of consumer culture, only to gleefully blow it to pieces. Number 19. The narrator's insomnia was based on real cases. Edward Norton's dazed, zombie-like portrayal of insomnia was not guesswork. Fincher directed Norton to embody a man in a constant dream state, and Norton's flat, weary performance convinced real insomniacs who said it felt disturbingly authentic. Norton carried that into his performance, speaking in a flat, weary tone and moving like a man disconnected from his own body. The result was haunting because it was grounded in truth. The strange detail is that some insomniac viewers later said Norton's portrayal felt too real, as if they were watching their own lives unravel on screen. Number 20. The soap bubbles were real. In Tyler's basement soap demonstration, foam floods the sink and spills across the floor. These weren't special effects. They were real soap bubbles created on set. The crew had to mop up between takes as the suds poured out of control. What makes it strange is how quickly the bubbles became a nuisance. The suds were real and messy, forcing frequent resets between takes. Number 21. Tyler appears before he appears. Sharp-eyed viewers eventually noticed something strange in Fight Club. Tyler Durden shows up long before he officially appears in the film. If you freeze frame, you'll catch flickers of Brad Pitt spliced into random moments, standing by a copy machine, walking past a hallway, even appearing in a doctor's office. These flashes last a single frame, almost too fast for the human eye to register. David Fincher inserted them as subliminal hints of what was coming. Tyler is a projection of the narrator's mind, so it made sense that he would haunt the screen before revealing himself. Most audiences never consciously noticed, but the feeling that something was off built suspense. It was a strange, almost hypnotic trick that made Tyler seem like a ghost drifting through the film before we truly met him. Number 22. Starbucks cups are everywhere. There's another hidden joke lurking in almost every scene. Some fans claim Starbucks cups appear in nearly every scene. Whether intentional or coincidence, it fits the film's critique of consumer culture. Fincher later explained that Starbucks was willing to allow their cups to appear as long as the company wasn't directly mocked. The strange part is how it turned into a running gag, a visual reminder of how corporations quietly invade every corner of daily life. Just as Tyler rails against consumerism, the movie itself mocks the ubiquity of branded coffee. Number 23. The smiley face on the building. During one of the Project Mayhem explosions, there's a brief flash where the debris forms into a smiley face. It's quick, but deliberate. Fans have spotted what looks like a smiley face in an explosion, an eerie wink that mirrors Tyler's twisted sense of humor. The eerie part is how it reflects Tyler's philosophy: chaos delivered with a grin. The world is collapsing, skyscrapers are falling, and in the middle of it all, the film smiles back at you. It's a disturbing joke, a reminder that destruction is being framed not as tragedy, but as liberation. Number 24. Real medical records inspired scenes. The narrator's late-night therapy sessions and support group visits were inspired by real accounts of patients attending recovery circles. Fincher and Norton studied records of therapy for terminal illness and trauma, noting how groups offered comfort through shared vulnerability. The therapy group scenes drew on real support group dynamics, Fincher observed, capturing the odd mix of grief and comfort. For a man who cannot sleep, crying on the shoulder of a stranger becomes the only time he feels alive. The strange twist is how something meant to heal becomes addictive, turning compassion into another form of escape. Number 25. The narrator's name trick. Fans still debate the true name of Edward Norton's character. In the credits, he's simply listed as the narrator. Fincher confirmed the narrator is never named. The Jack lines come from old Reader's Digest articles. In reality, the character is nameless. He's meant to be an everyman, a faceless cog in consumer culture. The strange detail is that by refusing to name him, Fincher made the narrator more relatable. Anyone can slip into his role, and that universality is what makes the film's message so unsettling. Number 26. A flash of porn at the end. One of the darkest running gags in Fight Club is Tyler's job as a projectionist, where he splices pornographic images into family films. Fincher couldn't resist doing the same. In the very last scene, as skyscrapers collapse and the Pixies play, there's a single frame flash of male genitalia spliced into the movie. Most audiences never noticed it consciously, but when pointed out, the reaction was the same as in the film: shock, confusion, and laughter. The strange brilliance is that Fincher turned his own movie into the punchline of Tyler's prank, making the audience live through exactly what the characters describe.
I was a juicer. You know, using steroids, Diagonal and withdrawal.
Number 27. Meatloaf's breasts were a real prosthetic. The character of Bob, played by rock legend Meatloaf, wore a massive fat suit with rubber breasts filled with birdseed. The suit weighed over 100 pounds, straining his back and forcing him to sit down between takes. The strange part is how convincing it was. Many fans assumed digital effects were used, but it was all practical. Meatloaf joked later that wearing the suit was harder than touring, but he committed to it completely. The discomfort even added to Bob's vulnerability, making his hugs with Norton look tender and painfully real. Number 28. Brad Pitt's red jacket was vintage. Tyler Durden's flamboyant red leather jacket became one of the film's most iconic costumes. But it wasn't custom made for Hollywood, it was bought secondhand. Costume designers scoured thrift shops until they found it, battered and worn. Fincher wanted Tyler's wardrobe to look like it had been stolen, not designed. The jacket's cracked leather and bold color made it instantly memorable, a symbol of rebellion wrapped in something cheap. The strange irony is that while the narrator buys from IKEA catalogs, Tyler dresses like a man who plucked his clothes from chaos. Number 29. Norton wrote on his own hand. In several scenes, Edward Norton's character has notes scribbled on his hand. Fincher encouraged improvisation, letting Norton add messy details that hinted at the narrator's unraveling. The odd part is that Fincher never told him to stop. He liked the improvisation because it made the character feel messier and more believable. Those scribbles are never explained, but they whisper the truth. The narrator's mind is cluttered, leaking into the margins of his own body. Number 30. Tyler's apartment was based on real squats. The ruined Paper Street house where Tyler and the narrator live wasn't imagined from scratch. Fincher and his design team studied real squats and abandoned buildings in Los Angeles. The Paper Street house was modeled on actual LA squats, exaggerating decay until the set itself felt alive and rotting. Bonus strange facts for the true fans. Bonus number 1. IKEA really approved the apartment catalog scene. The famous sequence where the narrator's condo fills with floating IKEA catalog items was built with real product codes. Fincher reached out to IKEA for permission, and surprisingly, they agreed. The strange irony is that a film mocking consumerism used authentic branding to show how absurd consumerism had become. Bonus number 2. Norton's narration was over 2,000 takes. The film is laced with Edward Norton's weary narration. Fincher recorded hundreds of takes of Norton's narration, experimenting until it sounded weary and detached enough to carry the film. Bonus number 3. The author preferred the movie's ending. Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote the novel, has admitted that he likes the film's ending more than his own. In the books, the buildings don't collapse. Fincher's decision to blow up the skyline, paired with the Pixies' Where Is My Mind, turned the finale into one of cinema's strangest and most haunting conclusions. Fight Club was never meant to be safe. It was designed to unsettle, to provoke, and to crawl under your skin. Every bruise, every subliminal message, every hidden trick made the film feel alive, like a hallucination you couldn't shake. It began as a misunderstood disaster, panned by executives and ignored at the box office. But over time, it became something stranger and greater, a cult myth, endlessly dissected, endlessly quoted, endlessly imitated. Today, it is more than a film. It is a manifesto, a fever dream, and a mirror that still unsettles anyone who stares into it. This is Strange Flick Facts, where we uncover the bizarre truths behind your favorite films.